Okay, so you can see there the model's looking fairly complete, except for one important thing, and that's the ground surface outside, which is really important if you're planning on making changes to the tiles or the patio area out there. So back in plan, I'm actually going to go to the site plan, and there I can see the boundary. Now, getting the heights here is going to be a little bit tricky because you're not given those anywhere on these drawings. Normally you would be. Okay, so if you're doing a real project, the first thing you'll be given is a survey with all the heights for the ground. But in this case, we're going to have to use a bit of guesswork. So I'm going to go to the south elevation. And so I can see here the ground floor level is 2750. And then the lower ground floor level is 0. I'm going to make my ground surface 100 mil below the 2 floor levels that I've got there. So it'll be 2650 for the upper level and minus 100 for the lowest level there, which should work. So back in my, I'll go to the lower ground floor level plan, and on the massing and site tab, we've got Toposurface. Now, I'm just going to pretend that it's basically flat, starting from the back. So I'm going to make it, leave it at the elevation at 0 there, and click onto the intersection of my boundary there, and oh no, sorry, I made a mistake there. Just go back. Going to click on Toposurface again, and I can't actually see the points here, so I'm going to go to Site Plan, click on Place Point, and then now I'm going to change the elevation to minus 100. So now I'll click onto this intersection, and there we are. I can see that point. That's working. This one here, that's okay as well. And really, all the way up to the retaining wall, it should be the same height. So I'm going to click a point inside that retaining wall. So using the midpoint of that retaining wall should work well. And then I'm going to come up now. It's a little bit tricky here. You've got to get the middle of that retaining wall by looking from above. That's close enough. Just there. And then another point, again, in the middle of the retaining wall. And another one up here. And then just to make the slope here consistent, I'm going to try and pick a point above the retaining wall on the boundary. Okay, so now to make it start sloping, I'm going to change the elevation to minus, oh sorry, not to minus, to 2650. I'm going to follow the back edge of my retaining wall around. So I'm going to click onto this end point here, another one here, and I'm also going to place a point along the boundary to make the slope consistent. So you can see I've got a thick line there showing me the slope, and then I'm just going to keep tracing my retaining wall. Yeah, so going along the corner here, down to the bottom, and then over to the corners. Now you can see here it's not quite working in that area, so I'm going to go to the 3D view and see what's happening there. So it's sloping pretty well there, it's just that it comes down too far at this point, so I need some more points that are higher along that edge. So back to the site plan, place point again, and I'll just put some more points coming down here, and that seems to have fixed it. So I'm going to come along this edge as well. There we go. So the contour lines show the slope, and you really don't want many contour lines here because it isn't sloping a lot. Now you can see there is another problem. I've got a contour line coming along here, and I don't want that, so I'm going to set my elevation back to -100, and then pick again on the inside of the retaining wall, and again you can see it's giving me a little bit too much slope there. So back to 2650, and then again points along that retaining wall should fix that. Now I'm going to go to wireframe here and show you a bit more clearly. And then back to place point again, and -100, and then I'll just get points inside the ones that I've already chosen. And you can see now the slope follows really closely along that retaining wall. So I've got a little problem there. I don't know, it's going to see in thin lines why. So that's at -100. So's that one. So's that. Let's try and move this up a bit. Okay, so that's working pretty well, but this area's still got a few issues, so I'll just try and put some more points in there at -100 and see if that'll bring it back. There we go. Okay, so just bring that back to the retaining wall. That one there. And then here, to stop that from happening, I've got to put a high point in, 2650. There. Another one at -100. Here. There we go. So there's a bit of back and forth, but it's always tricky when you've got dramatic changes in height. So again now, 2650 along here. In fact, I'm not going to worry too much about that because that's behind the retaining wall. So that's looking pretty good. So it's just along the retaining wall. You need to focus a little bit on getting the slope right. I'll set that back to hidden line now and finish that surface, and then you'll see in a 3D view I've got a surface that slopes in a little bit behind the retaining wall. Looks a bit strange there. Yeah, that's actually not very good. So I'll go and fix that. Edit surface, back to the site plan, in wireframe. So I've got these points here that are 2650, and you can actually copy those along rather than making new points. You can see there that it's going a little bit into the building, the ground, so I'm going to bring that back just by moving those points rather than... I'm just going to watch out and see what happens with the slope. Sometimes it can be a bit unpredictable, so... Nudging, there we go, that looks pretty good. So there, that's much better. If you wanted to be a bit more realistic, you could have this sloping gradually, but I think that's fine the way it is. So then that can be given a material. In a section box view, you'll see that the ground actually will show up cut, and you can you set that to fine, see that it's a ground surface. So that'll also show up in section views. Okay, so you've got a proper section there. Oh, that's in wireframe, so I've got to set that to hidden line to show the floor going over the ground. So fairly complete section there, and all of them will have that. So the ground surface there automatically is added to all those views. In the elevations as well. There's not much to it there, but that's the ground surface. If you in another view, I'll just change the view back to hidden line here. If you move your elevation by selecting it with a window and then moving it onto the site, you can do that with all four. Then you'll get proper elevations as well. Now notice the north and the south elevation I haven't moved right onto the site because that'll get in the way of other things. So instead I've moved them close, and I'm going to select the arrowhead now. I can use the elevation marker there to move that line in. Again, move this one in, and now that'll show cutting through at that point. So there we are. So we've got an elevation again showing the retaining wall. Now that probably could be even brought down further so that it cuts through the retaining wall here. So that's a little bit better, and you can see there the ground line. It's good to have that in elevation, and the same with the other elevation views now. So we'll see the ground line in each of those views. Right, now that can be adjusted with the crop region, but I'll just leave it like that for now. And then finally, to put the extra floors in, you can put there's a planter box outside, and I suppose the stairs as well could be shown there. So you've got a planter here, which you could just make with a floor. Now I've left a wall out there for the last bit of the retaining wall. Well, it's not really a retaining wall, it's a, I don't know, just a boundary wall or something. So let's draw a 140 wall in there. And I know that height should be set to the level, ground floor. And there's a planter here which has probably a little low height wall next to it, so I'll just draw a wall in starting at, or in fact I'll just draw it as is and I'll change the properties afterwards, just like the last one. So just along here, and then in properties I'll set the base offset to -100, and then the unconnected height maybe just to 150, so it's a really low wall. And now I can draw a floor in here. So I'll just do it very roughly with a rectangle in that area. So that would be my planter. Go for it, yep, sure. And that can have a new material. So I'll show green on plan or something like that. To do the steps, you could just make a floor and set the height offset to -100. Draw a rectangle, something like this, and I'll turn thin lines off, make that easier to see, and then probably 500 squares. There we go, something like that. Okay, so that now shows on the plan. I can copy that or do an array. Oh, yep, sure, just be a tick. Okay, so I'll do an array. And so what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13, 14 in a row. Yep, okay, so using array there. I'll just go the distance from first to second, leaving it on second up there. I'll just take it across a little bit. That looks about right. Maybe 550. Oh, I'll do 600. And type in 14. See how that looks. Yeah, not too bad. And then I can copy those individually. So I'll do that just by eye. 600 across. I'm going to ungroup the last one so it's not grouped with the others, and then I'll nudge that up slightly and just repeat that, but this time copy with the base point from the previous object. So there we go, that'll give you the path steps. Again, in 3D it's worth checking that. So there we are, we've got these objects. Oh, now they're slightly embedded in the site there. They should come through, but you can see there, because their height is exactly the same, there might be an issue. So I'm just going to select those here. And now there's a bit of an issue. The ones that aren't grouped, I can use Control to select those and just change the height offset there to, I'll just make it 110. Sorry, not -110, -90. So they've come up 10 mil. The others are grouped, so I'm just going to click Edit Group, and now I can select just one of them, change the height offset there to -90, finish editing the groups, and it's going to change all of them. So you can see now that's much clearer. They are coming up slightly. And so the planter there as well should be done. Yep, so you can see that in there. And then the planter out here needs to be added. Now, there really should be a step down, which is why... Oh no, sorry, they've done that. Oh yeah, there is a step, so they've got the RLs here, so there are some levels. So yeah, so it does step down, so that's good that I've got the site lower. And so back in the plan view, I'll just add a new floor in. And again, just very roughly using a rectangle, I'll draw that shape. Something like that. 2400, that's right. And then the type, I'll set it to the floor that I made before, but then I'll edit that type, duplicate it, and I'll call it patio. Edit, and I can set the tiles to begin with, and then I'll just duplicate that and call that pavers. And for now I'll just set a new biggest square. Except I don't have one, so I'll click on the browse button and duplicate. I'll just make a new one. So new there will give me a new pattern, and I can type in. Let's see, what are they? Probably 400 by 400, or maybe even 500. Yeah, so 500 square. Line angle set to 0, line spacing 500, and crosshatch needs to be on, so I can set the other spacing 500 as well. I suppose I can set the render appearance while I'm at it. And actually, I'll see in site work we should have something. I'll just choose this one for now, cobblestone. Okay, so I'll finish that, and oh no, I'm just going to check the height there, so that should be 0. And then the planter, in this area you can add exactly the same way as I did the other one. So I won't follow the steps for that, you can work that out, it's not very difficult. Well, just to save you time, you could even copy the one that is done here and then just modify it. And maybe I will just show you that quickly. If you can do it that way, using tab there, select the floor, use control, the wall as well, copy, just bring that straight across, making sure it goes horizontally across to line up with this wall here, and then the wall there can be added to using a new wall following along this edge. It just needs to have the same height, so base offset minus 100 and unconnected height 150. Now these can be trimmed, and then this floor can be edited so that that edge goes back to here. Okay, so looking in the 3D view now, you can see all of those side elements have been added. If you really want to take it further, you could put a path coming up to the entry there, and you'd need to put a floor over this area here for the entry as well. But I'll leave that out for now. Got to do a bit of joining there to tidy that up though. Okay, so to put some extra elements there, like planting and trees and other things, you can add families, and I'll just do this on the site plan, and then with component you probably have some loaded already. You can see here I've got RPC deciduous. There's a whole series of them. They're all Northern Hemisphere, well most of them are anyway. But you can usually find things that look pretty good, so I'm just going to choose some different trees from there, and you'll see they'll go at the height of the topography. So I'll choose a different one up here. So just with those couple of trees, I'll go back to the 3D view. Okay, so you can see this one's gone at the lower level, the other one's gone at the upper level. So you can just keep adding trees like that. There are shrubs and things as well if you go into the library, if you want to put things into the planter boxes. So back to component. This time I'll go to load family, under planting, and here we are, RPC shrub. So under the list there, you can see all these different shrubs that you can choose from. Okay, so I'll just place a few along here. Okay, so back in the 3D view, again you can see they go in at the height of the Toposurface. If you want them at the height of the flower bed, you need to select them and then put in the offset, which is 100 mil. So going to realistic, you can see they still won't show as they would be rendered. But if I now go to a perspective that's rendered, and I'll just do one from this room, maybe looking out. So I'll just do a quick camera view, looking out through that area. One last thing before I render, I'll just select my Toposurface, you can do that here, and I'm going to change the material for it to grass, which is in site work again. First under graphics, I'm going to set the site grass material, and it actually should have the right render material already, so that's done. So going to realistic here, you can see that's already showing up. Just bring this view down a bit so I can see a bit more. Okay, so I might even try walking back a bit in this room using the steering wheel. Just bring it back a bit further. That's too far, so go forward, back. It's just a bit sensitive here. There we go. Right, so I can see the plant coming into the room there, which is no good, so I'll have to go and move that down a bit. And maybe, now that I've seen this view, I can see that, well, the plant's still in there. I'll just go back and try rotating it 45 degrees. So that's better. And I'll just put in a few more plants. So back to component. I don't need to go and load anything again. I can just choose from the list now. And so I'm just going to choose some random shrubs and things like that along the boundary here. Might have a few of these actually down further. And some more trees, so they'll be down under the deciduous. Where's that gone? Okay, I might just load that library again. So back under planting, and actually I'll go for the tropical trees anyway to get some more. There we go. So we've got tree ferns and things like that in there. So I might just put a few of these in, make it a bit more interesting. And then here we go. There's my deciduous. So I'll just grab a few of these going along the boundary there. That should be enough for the view that I've got. So I'll so maybe just a couple behind. So back to perspective view now. You can see all those things. You can vary that a bit. I'll change some of them maybe to some different trees. That's a bit more interesting. Okay, so now when I render, that will all come up. And I'll just do a quick test render here without really changing many settings. So, yeah, I'm nearly done though. Just be a tick. Okay, so you can see those trees all render up. But the sun obviously is going to look much better when it's coming into the room, so we'll do that when we start putting the views onto the sheets. But that's all set up for when we do set up the renders. So let's finish that. You can put a fence around the boundary if you really want to, but I'm going to leave it as it is for now. So save the file. If you do want to put a fence in, you'll find the railings have a lot of fences if you look in the railings file.